you ever shown up somewhere 10 minutes early and immediately started doing math with your soul? Like you're sitting in your car outside the building, staring at the entrance, watching other humans stroll in like they're starring in a slow motion movie, and meanwhile you're thinking, okay, if I go in now, I'll look desperate. If I go in at exactly on time, I'll look careless. If I go in 2 minutes early, that's confident. But what if they see me waiting? What if they think I have no life? What if And that's when it hits you. You didn't just arrive early, you arrived early. If you're the type of person who's consistently early, not occasionally, but like as a personality trait early, you've probably heard the same comments your whole life. Wow, you're always so punctual. Must be nice to be so organized. Relax, it's not that serious. And on the surface, sure, it looks like organization. It looks like discipline. It looks like you've got your life together. You're the responsible one, the dependable one, the one people trust to show up when they say they will. But psychologically, arriving early is rarely just about time. It's often about safety, control, identity, sometimes even love. So let me show you what might actually be happening inside your brain when you're the person who shows up 15 minutes early to everything, including the party you didn't even want to go to. Picture this. You've got a meeting at 3 o'clock. You could leave at 2:30 and be perfectly fine. But you leave at 2:05 because your brain starts playing the what if trailer. What if there's traffic? What if there's an accident? What if you can't find parking? What if the elevator is broken and you have to take the stairs and you arrive sweaty and everyone thinks you're unprofessional? And then your whole life unravels like a cheap sweater in the dryer. It sounds dramatic, but your brain doesn't care if it sounds dramatic. Your brain cares if it feels plausible. This is the first big clue. Chronic earliness is often a form of anxiety management. Not always anxiety like panic attacks or trembling hands. Sometimes anxiety shows up as prevention behavior. It's the kind of anxiety that wears a blazer, carries a planner, and says, I'm fine, while secretly trying to control the universe through punctuality. Psychologically, when you arrive early, you're buying certainty. You're paying extra minutes to reduce risk. It's like insurance, but with your time. Because being late doesn't just feel inconvenient to you. For some early arrivers, being late feels like social danger. Like you've broken an unspoken contract. Like you've shown disrespect. Like you've exposed yourself to judgment. And judgment, for a lot of humans, is one of the oldest fears we have. Our brains evolved in tribes. Being accepted meant survival. Being unreliable or seen as a burden could mean exclusion. So even though it's 2026 and the tribe is a calendar invite and a Slack message, your nervous system still treats time as reputation. This is why being early often feels like being good. It's not just punctuality, it's morality with a wristwatch. In psychology, there's this idea that our behaviors aren't random, they're strategies. And if you're always early, your strategy might be, if I'm reliable, I'm safe. Maybe you grew up in a home where chaos was normal. Plans changed suddenly. Adults were unpredictable. You didn't know what time dinner would be, what mood someone would be in, or whether a promise meant anything at all. In environments like that, kids often become little detectives of stability. They learn that controlling what they can control is soothing. You can't control other people's emotions, but you can control your shoes being on early. You can't control whether someone's going to show up for you, but you can make sure you show up. Punctuality becomes a tiny ritual of order in a world that doesn't always feel ordered. Or maybe you grew up with heavy consequences around lateness, even small lateness. The kind of household where on time meant late and early meant acceptable, where a parent, teacher, or coach made lateness feel like failure. Over time, your brain links late with shame. And shame is a powerful motivator because it doesn't say you did something wrong. It says you are something wrong. So you become early. Not because you love waiting, not because you enjoy sitting on a bench like a Victorian ghost, but because being early protects you from feeling defective. Here's something else. Always arriving early is also often about being emotionally prepared. Some people don't just need time to travel, they need time to transition. Think about the difference between a phone that's at 2% battery and a phone that's at 90%. Both can technically make a call, but one of them is going to stress you out the entire time. Early arrivers tend to prefer a buffer, a mental runway. Time to park, breathe, scan the environment, rehearse what they'll say, regulate their nervous system. If you're early, you can enter with composure. If you're rushing, you enter with adrenaline. And adrenaline has a way of turning simple interactions into emotional escape rooms. So you build a buffer because you don't just want to arrive. You want to arrive as a version of yourself you respect. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful, but it can also be exhausting because the hidden cost of being early all the time is that you're constantly living slightly ahead of the moment. You're always preloading your life, always forecasting, always preparing for the next thing, which means you might struggle to be fully present in the thing you're currently doing. And here comes a weird twist. Sometimes arriving early is also about avoiding intimacy. I know. How does showing up early connect to intimacy? Well, imagine this. Arriving exactly on time means you walk in and immediately face people, immediately perform, immediately interact. But if you arrive early, you get to warm up alone. You get to control how you enter. You get to enter gradually, like dipping your toes in the water instead of cannonballing into the pool. If social settings drain you, being early gives you privacy before the exposure. It's a soft landing. And for many introverts or highly sensitive people, that alone time cushion is not a luxury. It's survival. There's also the identity piece. Some early arrivers see punctuality as part of who they are. It's a value, a statement. I'm someone who respects people's time. I'm someone who does what they say they'll do. I'm someone you can count on. And if you've ever felt like other parts of life are uncertain, relationships, career, health, emotions, then being early becomes a stable pillar of self-esteem. It's a small area where you can say, at least I'm not messy here. It's almost like your brain builds a little safe house out of predictability. And punctuality is one of the bricks. Now let's talk neuroscience for a second, but in a way that doesn't feel like a textbook smacked you in the face. Your brain has systems that monitor threat and uncertainty. When something is unpredictable, your brain often treats it as risky. Not because it's definitely dangerous, but because it's unknown. And the brain hates unknown the way cats hate water. So if you are someone whose nervous system is more sensitive to uncertainty because of personality, genetics, life experiences, then you will naturally create routines that reduce it. Arriving early is one of those routines. It shrinks the unknown zone. If you arrive early, you're less likely to experience the spike of, oh no, I'm going to be late. You avoid that. Stress cascade, faster heartbeat, narrowed attention, irritability, self-criticism, mental images of everyone judging you. You basically prevent your brain from flipping the emergency switch. It's like you're hacking your own system. But here's the catch. When a strategy works, your brain repeats it. And if being early prevents stress, your brain goes, great, that's our new religion. That's how habits become identities. Not through logic, but through relief. So the next time you leave 40 minutes early just in case, you're not being irrational. You're being consistent with what your nervous system has learned. This keeps me calm. And it does, until it doesn't. Because sometimes arriving early isn't calm. It's compulsive. Sometimes it starts to feel like you can't not be early. Like being on time isn't neutral. It feels wrong. Like if you try to leave later, your body reacts as if you're walking into traffic. That's when earliness stops being a preference and becomes a coping mechanism. And coping mechanisms aren't bad. They're just worth understanding. Let's make it super real. You arrive early to a friend's house, and you're sitting in your car, waiting. You check your phone. You check the time. You check your appearance. You rehearse your greeting. Maybe you even scroll through messages to look normal. And you're not relaxing. You're bracing. That bracing is a sign that early arrival isn't about politeness. It's about regulation. You're using time as a calming tool. And again, that's not something to shame. It's actually a sophisticated form of self-management. But the goal is to have choices, not rules. Because here's a gentle truth. You can be a good person without being early. You can be respectful without being perfect. You can be reliable without living your whole life on a tight leash. A lot of early arrivers secretly carry a belief that if they loosen control, everything will fall apart. But control is a tricky friend. It helps you feel safe, but it can also make you feel trapped, like you can't ever fully exhale. So what's the opportunity here? The opportunity is to reframe your early arriver brain as a strength with the volume knob. If you're always early, you probably have high conscientiousness. That's a personality trait linked to responsibility, follow through, and long term planning. It's one reason people trust you. It's why you get things done. It's why you're the person who remembers birthdays and charges their phone and has snacks just in case. You are, in many ways, a walking safety net. But even safety nets need rest. Sometimes growth looks like allowing yourself to be merely on time, not late, just on time. And noticing what emotions show up in your body when you do that. Is it fear, shame, a sense of being out of control, a worry that people won't like you as much? And then asking kindly, where did I learn that? Because here's the philosophical undertone. Your relationship with time is often your relationship with worth. If you feel worthy only when you're useful, punctuality becomes proof. If you feel worthy only when you're perfect, being early becomes armor. If you feel worthy only when you never inconvenience anyone, you'll arrive early and apologize for existing on the way in. But you don't have to earn your right to take up space. You can show up as you are, even if you're not 10 minutes ahead of the universe. And honestly, imagine what you could do with all those minutes you've donated to the gods of punctuality. Imagine a life where your buffer time is used not for bracing, but for living. Where you arrive early sometimes because you enjoy it, not because you fear the alternative. Where you can sit in your car and actually relax, not perform a silent TED talk in your head about all possible catastrophes. So if you're someone who always arrives early, I want you to hear this. There's nothing wrong with you. Your brain is not too much. Your nervous system is doing its job. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe, respected, and in control. The only question is whether the strategy still serves you or whether it's time to update it. Because you can keep the gift, your reliability, your care, your respect for others, without carrying the hidden burden of fear. And if this hit a little too close to home, I'd love to hear your experience. Are you early because you hate being rushed? Because you're anxious? Because you were trained that way? Or because you just genuinely like having a buffer and a calm entry into life? Drop a comment with your early arriver origin story. And if you want more psychology videos that make you feel seen and slightly called out in the best way, you know what to do. Subscribe, stick around, and let's keep learning how our minds work without letting them run the whole show.